Hi, welcome everybody to our session, a closer look at managing expenses, recent innovations, and peer use cases. My name is Brad Starks. I am the Director of Product Marketing here at SAP Concur, and I'm joined by...
Hello, my name is Alycia Klein. I am with Regal Rexnord, and I'm one of the main admins for our Concur site.
Thank you. I'm Charlie Muellner. I'm Senior Product Manager at SAP Concur for the Expense Payment Manager product.
Hi everybody, Chugh, Director of Integrated Partnerships over at Convera, working closely with Concur. Over to you, Brad.
Yeah, thanks, Roy. Before we get started, legal disclaimer. This is so copyright infringement. Don't take this and use it for your own personal use. And at the bottom there, we are going to get into some things that are not quite available yet, some of that innovation and vision section. A lot of words on the screen. I'll let you read it. Basically just says we're entitled to your firstborn child if you do break any of our rules. Just kidding, it doesn't actually say that, but do follow the rules. Quick agenda, we did a quick round of introductions, but I'm going to jump into some recent innovations with Charlie and myself, and then we're going to pass it over to Roy to go through his role at Convera and our partnership, and then we'll come back for some vision and look ahead of what's coming next from SAP Concur. And then throughout this whole thing, Alycia is just going to interrupt and interject anything and be the voice of the audience for all of you out there watching this. So with that, I'm just going to go ahead and jump right into some recent innovations. The first one is really, really cool that I wanted to share. It's actually been out for a while, Request Assistant, but some recent innovations as I click through this, and you can see what's happening, is it's predicting or projecting the expense amount, that you would incur for a trip. So it's actually going out and searching using Concur's travel database and all of that content that we have available from all of your providers, as well as the user's personal preferences, whether or not they like the window seat or the aisle, or like to be in the front of the bus or the back of the bus, and so on. And it's using all of that to then go and estimate what their trip cost would be using an agentic AI experience. This one happens to be for a flight, hotel, and taxi. But if I didn't like it for some reason, it got the class of service wrong, like I always try to sneak a business class trip through, I can go ahead and make that update and recalculate this and have it re-estimate. So that when it comes back and brings us into the request, you can see them as line items right there. It makes searching and figuring out how much you need to request for your trips as simple as sending an email, But we get a whole lot of benefit when we bring all that into the system, as you probably know if you already have requests.
Yeah, Brad, I used that for the first time for this trip, and it was very useful because it estimated all my meals. I didn't have to add lines. It was a 5-second process to create that request and submit it.
That's a great point, Charlie, And like this trip too, it's getting really, really accurate. As I mentioned with those personalizations and bringing in all that content, for this exact trip where we're actually recording this in Chicago, it got it almost exactly right for what I actually ended up booking. So really cool, really powerful, and I can't wait for all of you to start using this more often. Along the way, now that you're on the trip, if we're going to kind of follow the user on their journey, they'll be buying things and making purchases using that corporate credit card, hopefully, and we're going to get them using that corporate credit card. Real-time notifications is a way to capture all of that information and get it out there for your users at the moment that they tap the card, It used to be swipe, now we're going to tap the card. But the notifications are really cool, Because like at a Starbucks, I did this on the way here. I went and bought my coffee, paid for it, tapped my card. Before I actually got my mocha frappuccino, it takes a couple of minutes to make those, I actually got a notification on my phone notifying me, like you see on the left side of the screenshots here, that I had a transaction that I had incurred, and then asking me if I wanted to do something with it, like capture receipts or add attendees or so on. And you can see the capturing of the receipts that are there. One thing about real-time notifications is actually really, really cool that doesn't get mentioned as much is the way that it stops these duplicate transactions from being submitted. So how does it do that? The real-time notification is actually creating a credit card transaction in the available expenses that cannot be submitted. We know that this is a corporate credit card transaction. We know that it takes 3 to 5 business days for that settlement to come through. And so we hold that so that it cannot be submitted. There's nothing the user can change about their payment type in order to fix that. The great part is that it also merges all the other sources. So if you do take a picture using Expense-It, right, that will also match to that real-time notification. Any e-receipts or any other sources that might come in also connect to it. And again, they cannot be submitted until we get that settled card transaction. So if anybody's out there, Alycia, I think you probably might have dealt with this before. You get those duplicates, those eager beavers that want to submit every transaction as soon as they come in, and then 5 business days later they get the credit card transaction and try to submit it twice. That will fix this particular problem.
Are there plans to expand it?
There are, right, so good point. I should have called out, this is currently available on the market generally for all customers using MasterCard. So if you have a credit card that is on the MasterCard network, you can take advantage of this today. We have an early adopter program for American Express that is currently underway. If you're interested in joining that, it is open for more customers to be added. Just contact your account team, and then we'll get you in touch with the right people to get you signed up. Alycia, I think you guys use Visa.
Yes, we do.
Unfortunately, we're not quite there yet with Visa, but we are in negotiations and talking to Visa all the time to try to bring them on board. So fingers crossed, we'll get that through. If you any customers out there watching this, or Alycia, you want to go back and put some pressure on your issuing bank and Visa to sign up and join, I'm all for that. That would definitely not hurt us at all. Jumping ahead, I really love this one. I've been with Concur for about a decade, and this has been an issue for a long time. Expense-It is really powerful about capturing all the details from the receipt and auto-populating it. But if you can't get your users to use the mobile app, right, then it doesn't do a whole lot for them. And so what we've done in this case, I use the expression, right, if you can't bring Muhammad to the mountain, you bring the mountain to Muhammad, right? We put Expense-It where they are. And so anywhere where the user would be using or uploading receipts, we have added Expense-It in the background. And so this one is highlighting that Expense-It on the web, where you would normally go and add a receipt, instead of just putting a flat image, will now actually be doing Expense-It in the background and populating all those fields automatically the way that Expense-It can do, which is wonderful. And then I just wanted to call out, in coming up in the innovation section, I will give a quick shout out to other enhancements we're making to Expense-It once we get there. So teaser, right, that's coming. And I'm going to pass it over to Charlie, right? You're going to take us through a couple of other innovations.
Yeah, thanks, Brad. Yeah, we're going to cover some more innovations, and then we'll get to some thought leadership with Convera, who's a payment provider of our expense payment manager solution, which I manage and work with regularly. And then we'll have Brad wrap it up with the future stuff. So first innovation I'm going to talk about is an Outlook integration. And this is really aimed at solving the attendee process and making that easier and automated. Historically, you search for attendees one at a time, select them, add them to your expense line. It's a time-consuming process for large meetings. These attendees already exist in your Outlook calendar in the meeting. So we are allowing you to go browse your Outlook calendar, select that meeting, and default those in. You can select all or some of those and automatically add those into your expense line, so you don't have to do that searching manually to select those. So that should be a big time saver. This has been a time-consuming process a lot of times, especially for those larger meetings, and we already have the data in Outlook as it's, you send out the meeting request for the dinner or the entertainment expense, which requires attendees. You already have it. There's no need to manually have to redo that, and that's what this one's aimed at solving. Next innovation I'll talk about is a Teams integration. So the previous one, we had data in another system and brought it in to make the process easier. In this case, if you're using Microsoft Teams, and the majority of our clients we've found are using Microsoft Teams, we're bringing SAP Concur to you where you're already working in Teams. And I don't know about you, I've worked in Teams throughout the day. It's always up. It's pinging me constantly with notifications. Now we can do some of our Concur actions right in there without having to log into the SAP Concur app. One example, you can see those commands, those prompt suggestions there that we give you. You can just pick one of those. It'll bring back all your 5 most recent expense reports. You can see the approval status of those. And then with the share button, ping, nudge your manager to approve that expense report if you need to, or share it to someone else that needs to see it for whatever reason. Right within Teams, the approver will get that nudge. They then can act on that and approve that report right from Teams, from that nudge. They can click on the report link, open it up in Concur to give it if they need to check something on the report before they approve it. They also can send it back with comments like you can in the web app through the normal process right within the Teams feed. If you're just an approver and you're not getting nudged and you just want to deal with your pending approval list, you can load that in there as well and approve it or send back those items. The next innovation here is the Spend Administration Launchpad. So this is part of kind of reimagining the expense administrator role. I know that the expense user has gotten a lot of innovations over the prior years, and we're really honing in on the administrator now to make their lives easier. And you can see there's quick actions defaulted in there at the top. We use data analytics to analyze the most commonly used actions across our client base and found that these were some of the most commonly used ones and repetitive tasks that an admin needs to do. So updating default approver in case of management changes or reporting changes, and deactivate user for employees as they leave. You need to immediately go in and deactivate them so they can't continue to use the system. We're putting those right at the top to make those steps a lot quicker for you. We also are looking for feedback on this. This has been kind of an opt-in thing. It's in production for the last few months. You have to opt into it to get it to launch. We're looking for some new suggestions of the new actions to add to this. So right in the page, there's an embedded feedback mechanism here. And this is going to be the default admin view starting on the 17th. So all the admins will start to see this as their default view, their default landing page when they go in. There is the ability to kind of revert back to the old page. Although if you see it, it's pretty intuitive. I don't know why you would, but that's available if needed. And favorite section is another nice feature there, configurability. And Alycia, I think you've used this. What's your take on this? And what have you added for favorites in your
So I have
experience?
played with this. I do actually really like it. It's, as an admin in the system, it's made it a lot easier for me to go to the direct places I want to go to. I've added Payment Manager actually in there because that is a weekly report that I run, and I work closely with our accounting teams to make sure that they're happy. And so I spend a lot of time in Payment Manager.
Yeah, and my favorite use case for this is, well, there's an external URL feature here. So you can not only add favorites of the admin items that you're using repeatedly. As an admin, not all admins are going to have the same things they have to do repetitively. So there's configurability there. You can add in any of the Concur admin items, and as well as external URLs. So if you have a separate system that you have up and need to bounce out to make those administrative changes that you need to make in your ERP, you can add a tile for that right on here with the external URL feature. In my case, my favorite use case there is to add in my fantasy football team access so I can make my lineup changes throughout the day much quicker and less disruptive to my normal work day when you do it that way. So if the old menu or the rest of the admin items are down below, you can still scroll down and go find the item that you want if you want. Otherwise, there is a flexible search at the top now where you can start typing in text, and it'll bring back all the relevant admin items that use that text or have that text in it. And if you notice there, this is a spend administration launchpad. So we have expense administration in there, as well as invoice administration and request administration will all be available here to allow you to, if you're an admin for both areas or across the products, you can then do that without having to navigate between the areas like you have to do today. And shifting gears a little bit here, now we're going to talk about Expense Payment Manager. So we've kind of, we've worked through the journey with Brad, the whole process from request, the real-time authorization, capturing receipts, completing approvals, and that's usually where kind of the journey ends for most people. Once it gets approved for payment, it extracts out of the system, and you pay it either via AP or payroll outside of the system, disconnected. Nobody can see anything. You don't have much control because the extract just happens once it gets to the end of the workflow. But there's a whole additional steps here at the end of the process of the payment and the reimbursement side. And that's really where Expense Payment Manager comes in. We bring that payment process back into the T&E solution, into Concur, where the reports exist, to give you that full visibility to the full workflow and payment statuses along the way. And really this solution's about better control, better visibility, automated handling of returns, and all of that kind of leads to a reduced payment pain. You don't have a separate integration. You don't have to handle sensitive data in these extracts and manipulate it and total it up to pay your employees. We do it all right within Concur. The employee can see their payment status, when they're going to get paid. They get emails along the way. As an admin, we have a great payment timeline feature for any inquiries about payments. You just pull it up. You can open the payment timeline, see, oh, this got returned twice because of an invalid bank account, and you can tell your employee they need to check their banking details. All full end-to-end handling, real-time statuses from our payment providers. Convera, that's with us, is one of our payment providers for this product, and he'll talk a little bit about this as well once he gets in here. And we've really embarked upon a massive expansion of our capabilities as far as the currencies that we can complete payments for you. We do employee reimbursements, and we also do corporate card reimbursements for individual bill company paid cards. We handle all the remittance data to the card companies direct and securely, PCI compliant, so that you don't have to have separate integrations that handle that sensitive 16-digit card data. And when we launched Expense Payment Manager, we launched with Convera as an additional partner in addition to Worldline, who can do the first 4 currencies. And we launched with 26 currencies. And as of June 2025, a couple months ago, we basically doubled that footprint to 50 currencies. And we really use data analytics again across our client base to see where are the reports happening in the system through the expense product. And we should have coverage of 99% plus of all expense report volume is covered with this list here. So we were really intentional about supporting everything that our clients use as best we can. We can continue to expand this as well. But right now we have pretty good coverage. You should be able to run all of your operating countries through this solution and have a centralized process, an automated process here. And with that, I think I'll bring in Convera here, who, like I said, is one of our payment providers that supports all 50 here. And he'll give us some thought leadership in payments.
Thanks, Charlie. Appreciate the opportunity. I will be taking you through this relatively quickly and keeping us on time. Convera and the Concur partnership has been long-standing, and I think you heard Charlie and Brad all talk about how important this is, and the future innovation and what we're doing with Alycia and team is just the very beginning of the future here. So you saw the innovation and how we fit in, and how the process begins with the Concur UI, and the future really, from a process perspective, as you're seeing, is that there's an embedded solution, right? So you have clear visibility to what's actually happening. So you have an understanding of the payment flow, understand exactly the full end-to-end journey for when the payments are going to land. So reimbursements is where we sit, and how we provide support to the Concur customer, and providing visibility to the end-to-end payment from when we disperse the payment itself from a batch perspective to when the money lands in the employee's account or through a card provider, depending on what's in scope there. So Convera and Concur have built a really interesting product. We'll continue to innovate, but payments are complicated. And I'm sure Alycia could tell you how complicated it is as we start to shift outside of your comfort zone, right? And we talk about some interesting markets that we've now expanded to. Within the experience we cover, and the automated process covers a lot of those removal of manual processes, compliance verification, how the geopolitical impacts or compliance environments in the evolution of payments. That's one of the things that we bring with the partnership, and empowering the Concur product to seamlessly bring the best experience to your end user, which could be the employee or to the card provider. And our evolution with the partner, with the Concur experience, is to save you time and bring a true experience end to end. So the partnership has been there for 10 years. We're only on 11 this coming November. And I think Charlie alluded to where we started with a few currencies, have now expanded to a core 50. And we have some way to go for innovation, but we'll continue to push the envelope where we need to. So who is Convera? Convera is a payment provider, fintech provider, and a fully licensed money service business that's operating in lots of countries and territories. We maintain over 700 licenses globally. And these are all real important facts as you consider a payment provider and an expert in the industry that Concur has partnered with for over close to 11 years. Our core business is over 40 years old, and we serve lots of different customer types from a global perspective. Concur has partnered with us. Why? Right? To keep it very simple, the manual intervention, the manual work that you may be doing is very seamless now with the Concur tool. We've heard customers, the pain points, and have worked closely with Charlie and Brad to develop a fully integrated solution. So you're not spending time with us on product development or a fully integrated development timeline where you're needing to hire anybody to do that. Our goal is to bring something, a plug-and-play model, a seamless experience, and bringing the SAP and Concur and Convera infrastructure to that process. So as a thought leader and somebody that's been in the business for a while, what are the trends and what are we seeing that you need to consider as a business? Current, as you guys know, the current climate has been very volatile in the payments environment. And that's where we truly excel in our experience and what we bring to customers, either directly or indirectly. You can see that we are spending the global travel, even though with volatility, there's been an increase in 2025. Close to $1.57 trillion was spent in global travel, which is an increase year over year. We're continuing to see finance teams at corporates struggling and spending hours a month manually creating receipts and reconciliation, which is one of the reasons we partner with Concur to bring innovation and product development to corporate customers like yourselves. And we're continuing to see firms using expense systems where you heard Brad and Charlie talk about AI, and we'll continue to hear development and innovation there to make your life much easier. Who loves doing expense reports, right? So AI and the ease way of doing this is going to be where we continue to innovate. And fraud. Fraud is a key measure, especially where businesses face risk. So innovation, product, and integration is a key part of all of this. The future of payments and travel and expense, we talked about mobile apps and AI, continuing to drive real-time experiences for your employees and for firms. Analytical data will be something that we continue to focus on and work together on to make the user experience more predictable, allowing less time spent doing expense reports. And we continue to see lots of companies opting for cloud-based services, especially in this sector. So how can you take advantage of Convera? Very simple. It's a very plug-and-play model that we have developed with Concur's help over the last 10.5 years. We serve many different customer types, which you all fall into, and we bring a whole knowledge of payment experience, which will make the user experience much faster, more easier, and will bring a nature of activity. And I think our approach and a part of the experience that we bring within the payments theme is a part of the relationship is we're in a volatile market, right? And there's lots of things happening in the world. And we're in a critical time right now with budgets, as you guys all set budgets, travel expenses, and activity for 2026. There's a lot of activity that you can take advantage of with our experience and expertise in the sector that we can help you with. The process, very simple. You don't really work with product innovation on our end. Our world is spent with focus on the legal, the contracting, and working through the process, helping you make this experience as much as easy as possible, and helping you go live as quickly as possible. It's always important to know, because we're working through the Concur UI, what the back-end view looks like. Very simply, this is the back-end view where Convera sits. As a highly regulated money service business, we are providing real-time status and feedback to the Concur UI, where you're not needing to log into multiple platforms and making things easier, where you have clear visibility to when the batch closes to when the money is landing in your employee's account. And the last slide, compliance. We operate in a very heavily regulated industry, and one of the reasons why Concur and Convera work together is that we bring this seamless part of the process to the product itself, to the front end of the Concur UI, making things easier for your employees and for your firm, and leaving this experience to Convera and Concur.
Yeah, and it's really great having a compliance partner like you guys on board with us, because as these things come down, we get advance notice of them, and we can build things in to avoid payment disruption related to these changes.
Yep.
Like the EU particularly has a lot of verification, additional verification, and enhanced screening for things for payments in the payments landscape, and we're always on top of it with you, raising that with us.
Yeah, and I think that's important, right? Because that's one of the things that you're working through and why you want the innovation, right? We're going to be bringing that experience right to the front end, nothing you have to worry about, but something that Charlie and the team will be configuring to the system.
Yeah.
So, Brad, over to you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. It wouldn't be it wouldn't be a presentation if I didn't have a look ahead, right, and a teaser of what's coming next, right? I wouldn't be doing my job as product marketing if I didn't do those things. Before, though, we get a little bit into what's coming next, just wanted to remind everybody of the SAP Concur vision, right? I know we've been talking about it for many years, right, and you've probably heard it several times, right, but we're trying to create a world where travel and expenses practically manage themselves. And I know that we've been talking about it for that long time, like I mentioned, but it feels like with AI, we're really getting close to seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And so a spoiler, right, for anybody who is thinking about attending Fusion next March in 2026, I highly recommend that you go and do so and hear more about how we can manage T&E practically by ourselves. Bringing it back into like what's coming out right now, right? This is actually one that is kind of blurs the line between recent innovations and coming next. With dynamic card management, this is a partnership, another partnership that we have with MasterCard that is currently available now with HSBC as the issuing bank. Out of their U.S. branches only at this point is an initial pilot. In order to create and issue virtual credit cards for users, as well as manage the physical plastic cards. So if I come all the way back to then the virtual cards, so when we were showing before, right, the request assistant in order to estimate how much a trip might cost, right, that would play together where you would then also go directly into requesting a virtual card. So, or if you just needed a virtual card, right, and you didn't know how much, you can use the request assistant to make those estimates for you so that now your users are getting virtual cards. And those virtual cards can be for all sorts of purposes, right, just for a single trip, for a single purchase, an open-ended time frame for a month. It's really up to you and how you would like to issue those virtual cards to your users. And then on the physical cards, right, the actual plastic cards that we're all used to with the traditional corporate card program, also available via the request solution, you will be able to manage those physical cards, right? So if you've got infrequent travelers that might only travel 2 or 3 times a year, you don't need that card burning a hole in their wallet ready to spend whenever they want, or oopsie, I grabbed the wrong card at the movie theater, right? We can leave those cards deactivated until the user needs them. They'll submit a simple request saying, I need to go and buy something, go on a trip, whatever the purpose is, and that will integrate through the MasterCard network to HSBC in this example, and then unlock or activate that corporate card for them. And then once that trip is over, right, that requested period is completed, we would send another signal through the network from MasterCard to HSBC to then automatically deactivate that card, turning it back into the paperweight so that they don't spend on it. And I just want to correct one thing I said. I said this was available through our request solution. It's actually available through our expense solution. So this is a core expense feature. You do not need to buy request in order to buy that, or in order to get that. I do want to call out, and Alycia, this is for you too, right, is similar like I mentioned before with our Visa partnership, if we're looking to get more partner banks on board outside of HSBC and to really grow that pilot, we are in active negotiations and contracts and in talks with several other issuing banks, but it never hurts if you want to reach out to your bank and ask them when you'll get access to this via the MasterCard network. Something that's a little bit further ahead is we're also looking to integrate these similar functionality for dynamic card management with Amex. So be on the lookout for that probably sometime next year. Jumping ahead, this is one that gets a lot of attention, right? Especially every time we present it. This is the policy assistant. Think of this as being that kind of little angel on the shoulder of your users, reminding of what the policy is. But while they're booking trips, while they're on the trips, getting notifications, right? You're about to start your travel because we know your trip start date. Here's what you can and can't do for like the hotel, right? No mini bars, don't do that. But it's definitely okay to get the internet. Or what are the meals limits, right? Don't forget, breakfast is only $20, but hey, dinner, go crazy, spend 60. Those are just some examples that are on this screen. Whatever your actual policy is what will actually be available to your users, which is really cool.
I love this one, Brad, because I found myself before this trip. I haven't traveled in a while. I had to pull up the big policy document and keyword search in there to find out what this year's meal limits are. And this would really be useful if that popped up and I could see that and I didn't have to do that step.
Absolutely. And Alycia, you're probably thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to key in, write a 50-page policy into this and one tip at a time. No, you won't, right? So we also have AI. It wouldn't be a solution if we didn't put AI somewhere. But we have AI that is similar to like Expense It. That's an OCR where you will upload your policy document, all 50 pages, and we will scan it and we will pull out some of the tips that we think your users should see. And then you as an admin would have the ability to then either accept those or change them or just wholeheartedly create new ones if you wanted to, and then also decide where you would like them displayed, right? So do we want them when the user's booking the travel? Do I want that when, alerts when they're about to go on their trip? Do I want it available in the mobile app so they can click on it? And do I want them to see that when they're creating the expense report? You can pick and choose which tip gets which visibility all over the place, full flexibility there. So wouldn't you like Alycia to be the angel on those users' shoulders going like, remember the policy, remember the policy?
Of course, especially as we've continued to do expansion efforts and rewrite our policies and expand to EMEA, and EMEA has a lot of regulations, so I'm very excited to integrate this.
That's awesome, right? I believe this is coming probably early next year, just as a ballpark. So be on the lookout for this then, and definitely you'll hear more about it at Fusion 2026. And then it wouldn't be a presentation in 2025 if I didn't have an entire AI slide that I talked about AI features. On the left side of the screen, this is the coming soon, and on the right side is the future direction. Right in the middle, though, is the actual Jewel icon. This is Jewel, if you haven't heard about it yet. I don't know how you couldn't have heard about it. Is the AI solution, right, that Copilot that works with you throughout all of the SAP solutions, right? So whether or not you're on the Cloud ERP, S/4HANA, or Ariba, SuccessFactors, you name it, any of the SAP portfolio, you'll be able to launch Jewel and then interact with it. In our coming soon, right, this is this year, right? So before the end of 2025, you'll have access to a conversational help search, expense creation, which I'm actually going to give you a quick demo of as soon as I'm done talking here. The travel booking agent, which is a capability to book an actual trip, right? If you just let the AI know, I would like to go to Seattle on, October the 15th, it will go and find an itinerary that matches based off of your travel preferences as well as the company's content for travel, and go and suggest an itinerary, right? Here's a flight, hotel, car rental based off your past experience. Would you like me to book it? And you can just click yes, and it'll take care of the rest. There are 20 plus other expense use cases like searching for available transactions, show me the list of open expense reports, what is the status of, right? All of those things are also available that you can ask and prompt in Jewel. Before the end of the year, this is what we're calling our Jewel Base offering. This is zero cost, available to any customer that would like to go through. There'll be a link at the App Center you'll click through and then complete the setup, and then Jewel will be available to all of your users, no purchase necessary. So that's a win. Some of the future direction stuff that we're going in Jewel, I can't promise that it'll all be free, I know. We do need to keep the lights on, right, for these recordings, so that takes money. But we will absolutely be inserting a ton of agentic AI, right, in order to take that next evolution in our AI journey so that we can automate some of those tasks and not have the user continue to prompt and interact with the solution, right? We can really, truly automate, right? If I hint back to our vision of a travel and expense that practically manages itself, you probably think, you can probably guess where I'm going, and I suggest that if you're interested in learning more about that, that you attend Fusion 2026. Some of the other things that are coming, we'll definitely adding request use cases, more Concur mobile functionality. Unfortunately, in the initial launch with Joule, it won't be on the mobile app. But that will be coming soon. And then there will be some use cases just for admins. So if you wanted to also search and help, like what is an audit rule, how do I create it, things like that, and more, tease, right? And that's all you're going to get from me today, right? Again, if I didn't plug it enough, attend Fusion 2026. You're going to like what you see. With that being said, right, I'm sure, Alycia, everybody else, you want to see the demo of Joule in action? We're going to go and create an expense report via Joule. So let me click through, and we'll see this. And so what's happening, right, is in the top right corner, you'll see the Joule icon that I called out. User will open it up. In this case, they're asking to create an expense report. And it will ask, right, do you want to start a new one or use an existing one? In this case, we're going to start a new expense report. It's going to ask, what would you like it to be called? Right? And so in this case, you can see the user is continuing to respond to the AI, right, to Joule, just like you would if you were using like a chat GPT, right, in those free versions that are available. It created the expense report for the New York client visit. It's going to ask, would you like to add transactions to it? It wasn't on the list, so the user just typed in entertainment. In this case, the company that we were demoing here had 2 versions of entertainment. It asked you to pick which one, clients or staff. And then once you did that, it just asks for some of those basic transaction details that we need, right? Give me the location, payment type, vendor, business purpose, currency code, transaction date, and transaction amount. Just some kind of simple bullet points as it's filling out here. This is a trip to New York. They went to Cat's Deli, and it was entertainment, right? So it was $400. There were multiple people there. And it says, great, I went ahead and did that. And so when you click through, it actually goes onto the expense report that we created directly into the transaction for Cat's Deli. And you can see all of the data here on the screen that's populated that you typed into Joule. And then just another explainer, like I mentioned, Joule sits across all of the SAP solutions. So if you were logged into Ariba and you thought, oh no, I forgot, I need to do that expense report for my Cat's Deli, you could just launch Joule from Ariba and follow exactly what we just saw on the screen and create that expense report and this transaction all from Ariba, never having to log into Concur. Pretty cool, right?
I'm excited.
Yeah, really cool.
Can't wait, yeah. And this will be available, like I said, this is in our free version that will be available before the end of this year in 2025. If you would like to know the exact date, we have an SAP Connect event, October 16th, where we will be letting you know exactly what that is. So tune in if you're curious. And that completes our presentation today. Thanks, everybody, for getting us through, right? Alycia, Charlie, and Roy. For all of you watching this, your voice does matter, right? I know we can't hear you today because this is virtual, but we would like to hear from you in our user research panel. Please do scan this and go sign up, right? Your feedback is absolutely useful, right? As Charlie was pointing out, we look at what you guys are doing, we try to match what you're doing, so we get those currencies for like expense payment manager and so on. It is vital to us.
This research panel is really cool because you can subscribe to specific topics, give feedback where you want to give feedback, and you don't have to give feedback on other things you don't want. So it's really up to you. You can sign up, pick the topics you want to learn about new stuff on and provide feedback for, and then you'll be a part of those groups.
And since we're on feedback, right, just for this event, if you were in person and virtual, we would like you to please go in and open that menu and share your feedback with us. How did we do today? Did you like the topic? So that we know what to share with you in the future and other future virtual sessions or even live sessions, right? Our whole goal here at Concur is to make sure that you are getting what you need from all of these events and our products. So we just need to know what you want and we'll give it to you. Simple as that. And then for the virtual session, don't forget you can open up the live chat and you can talk to other attendees and keep that conversation going and get some of that interaction that you only can get from the virtual session that you may have missed out because you couldn't be here in person in Chicago. And with that, I'm going to wrap up. Thank you, everybody, for listening to us go through this. On behalf of all of us here, right, Roy, Charlie, Alycia, and myself, right, we appreciate your time and attention. We know that you could be doing other things and you chose to spend it here listening to us drone on. And so thank you, thank you, thank you.